There are two squares on the chessboard that are more important than all the other ones. You know what they are? F7 and F2. Why are these so important? Because only the kings defend them. These are also the squares where the 4-move Scholar's Mate happens on, right? The queen and the bishop can come out and deliver checkmate on that square. And so you have to pay close attention. The game you're about to see is going to illustrate exactly why this is such a big deal, even at higher levels. Now, this game was round number 1 of the Universal Chess Tour, my next OTB tournament. And my opponent was actually the same person that I played in the very last round of the last tournament that I played in. So I played the same person twice in a row at 2 completely different tournaments. I don't know what the odds of that happening are, but that's pretty wild to me. So anyway, but now the nice thing is we actually switched colors. So last game he was white, I was black. This game I'm white, he was black. So that's pretty interesting. But he did put up a good fight last time. And so I wasn't going to take this lightly. So yeah, let's go ahead and just get into the game. So I played E4. He played G6. I played D4, got the 2 pawns in the center. He played D6. I played knight C3, bishop G7, and F4. So this is called the 3 pawns attack. Apparently, I'm looking over here at the side. It's telling me I just wanted to get a nice big center and be set up in an aggressive way to potentially attack at the right moment. And so that's why I played F4. He played A6. I brought my knight out. And he played B5. Now, you have to be careful with this, because whenever there's a pawn on B5, it can always push forward and chase this knight away. And when the bishop's on B7 and the knight's on F6, you know, there could be a lot of pressure on this E4 pawn. And that's something you have to kind of think about. So I was trying to be careful with what I chose for my next move here. I didn't want to just do something careless and have a problem with E4. So I decided to go ahead and attack this right away. Now, of course, black has to do something about it. Otherwise, I'm going to take, and there's going to be this pin here on the rook. And so he pushed by and chased my knight away. I brought the knight back, and my plan was to jump it over to G3, where it can also support the E4 pawn, and there's no pawn that's going to attack it unless black is going to be really aggressive and start, you know, playing H5, H4, which seems like it's probably not going to be a good plan. So they played A5. I went ahead and put the knight over there. Knights are looking nice next to each other. Great. Knight to A6. Now, apparently this move was a big mistake. I did not see why during the game. If you guys would like to pause, there's a very powerful move here for white. All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that. So the move is bishop to B5 check. I didn't play this because I didn't see why it was so powerful. In my mind, I was thinking, yeah, I can go check and black's going to block. So what? And apparently the idea is you're going to play queen E2 and attack the knight. If they take me and play queen D7, you're actually going to come down here, and now you're going to put them in check, and black is in trouble, because if you go block with the queen, you lose your rook, so you have to lose castling rights. So I didn't really follow the line far enough to see that. I just thought, yeah, I can check, but there's always bishop D7 and I trade or something. I didn't actually consider queen E2, putting the pressure on the knight. The knight's kind of in trouble. If the trade happens, you come down, you check. Like, I just didn't follow it long enough. So didn't even really strongly consider bishop B5. I played bishop C4 instead. He played E6, trying to shut down what my bishop is doing along this diagonal. I castled, knight to E7. And here I played a move, which, okay, the engine doesn't like it. Why did I play bishop B3? Well, if you're going to be a grandmaster, you have to play a mysterious move like this every once in a while. Otherwise, you'll never be a grandmaster. So that's why I did it. I'm kidding, guys, obviously. They always have a reason. Sometimes you don't know what their reasons are. Okay, the reason is if black is going to play D5 at some point, then I'm either going to have to take or retreat. And like, for example, let's just say I do this and they play D5. I either take and have this position, or I retreat and now they have the option to take me. And it kind of messes up my center, okay? By going back, the point is that if they play D5, now I can play E5 if I want. They don't have to play this move. But if I want, I can play this because I don't have to waste time moving my bishop. So it gives me the option to lock up the center. You guys understand that? And I know for a fact that, like, in some cases, this is a good thing. Apparently, the engine in this position is like, yeah, don't even waste your time doing that. That's silly. I have better things to do. But that was my logic. Okay. So I played bishop to b3. My opponent, bishop to b7. Now, as soon as they played this move, I noticed that some of the support along this diagonal here is weakened. Now the bishop is attacking here, but it's not supporting these squares. So I decided to try to attack that with knight to g5. And I'm setting up some potential sacrifices maybe on e6. Like maybe I'll give up this bishop for 2 pawns and then I'll have a fork. Or maybe I'll sack the knight and have the bishop in there. It looked like it was going to be pretty good. My opponent played the move h6. What do you think I played here? Well, if you remember what I said at the start of the video, f7 is a square that you have to pay attention to. Now, originally when I saw this move, I was thinking of doing something like either knight takes e6 and planting my bishop here, and then continuing to attack. Or I was thinking of playing f5 with the idea if they take me, I could push and get a fork, and then at least open up the F file and keep attacking here. But I wasn't sure like how good that was going to be for me. And yeah, it turns out that it's actually not good at all. Black can just go here and then take with the queen, and black is actually doing just fine. So that's one thing. But then I also realized that I have this idea of knight takes f7. And as soon as I looked at it, and the more I looked at it, the more I was like, yeah, this has got to be a crushing move. I didn't calculate everything. I calculated a few variations. But I just realized that, of course, black has to accept it. I mean, I'm forking their pieces. But after they accepted the move, well, what do you guys think the move is? That's correct. If you said f5, you're absolutely right. So f5. And basically, we're completely shattering the defense around black's king. We're either going to take here or here. We've got the bishop coming in this way. We've got the rook coming in this way. The queen might actually come here if we get rid of this pawn. There's so many pieces along the light square that are going to be attacking this king that black is just already losing. You can see the eval bar there. And so that's a crushing sacrifice. And so they played d5. They're trying to shut down the bishop, which is logical. And I have a decision here to capture this way or this way. There are other moves I could play, like e5. Sorry, f6 followed by e5, or some other moves were on my mind. But if you had to choose between capturing here, which one would you guys choose? All right, so they're both okay. Actually, I say that. I don't even know if this one's any good. I think this is not as good. Yeah, it's not as good. And here's why. When you take, this is what I did in the game. I took this way. When you take the G pawn, you get rid of the pawn that's controlling h5, which opens that up for your knight. If you take the other way, notice how the pawn is shutting down my knight. My knight's basically a useless piece because I don't want to just move there and let it get captured. But by simply taking this way, now the knight can come into the party. Queen too if you need it, but primarily the knight. And that is a really great attacking piece on black's king. So really big difference there. They played king to e8, and that's exactly what I did. Knight to h5, attacking the bishop. Rook to g8, and I really wanted to play the move rook f8 check. And the whole point of this move would have been, if the bishop takes, there's a checkmate. A beautiful smothered checkmate, okay? And then the other point is, if the rook takes, I was going to take here check and then keep attacking. Yeah, with knight takes e6, which apparently actually is winning for me. I didn't see the final move. Actually, no, I looked at this line, e5, queen e6. I looked at this, and I knew that was winning. But I think I thought they could potentially sacrifice the knight and then run away, and I wasn't sure. Yeah, it's really good for me, though. So that would have been one thing. But then the other problem is, what if they just take with the king? And I was like, yes, I can come in with the queen, and I can come down with the queen, but then they're going to get away, and I gave up a rook for like no reason, essentially. So ultimately, I decided against it, but it was kind of a cool move. Rook f7 would have been a very strong move as well, just piling the pressure on here. I thought they would go back in the corner, and I could do this, but it's going to cost me a rook. But apparently this is also winning, but okay, I didn't see that. What I saw that was relatively straightforward was capturing the bishop, coming in here, And my point is that when the rook goes back, if the rook goes back, I'm going to play g7. And this pawn is shutting down the rook, not to mention rook f8 is coming, and you can't take me because I'm going to get another queen. And if you try to run, here's a cool little detail. Rook to f8 actually traps the queen. Black's queen is trapped. And of course, if you take, I just get another queen. And even though you can take the queen, I'm getting your queen. I still have my queen. So I'm just winning the queen, basically. That didn't happen, but that was my plan. The reason it didn't happen is because my opponent actually just sacrificed here. I say sacrifice. It looks like they took a free pawn. They sacrificed their queen. Rook to f8 check. The king moves here. I took the queen, and they come over. Now, they do have, if you look at the material, rook, bishop, bishop, rook, bishop, knight. They do have a knight and a rook for a queen, which is something. The problem is I also have these two pawns over here, which are connected past pawns. So any type of endgame is going to be a win for me. And black's king is not exactly ultra safe here in the center. Still have to be careful. And so I played bishop f4. My bishop was under attack. They attacked it again. I retreated back to g3. They captured here, and the knight looks like it's coming to f5. And if the rooks pile up and the pawn pushes forward, I was like, there's a lot of pieces that could be coming at my king. I have to be a little careful here. So I played the move queen h5 with the main purpose of stopping knight f5. They can't play knight f5 anymore because I just take the rook. So black played rook f5, and now I went back. And now the knight cannot move to f5. And this is a great square for my queen because I have threats over here, here, and here. They double up. I brought the rook into the game because it wasn't doing anything. They played king to e8, and here I think I found a really nice move. If you would like to pause, what move did I play for white? All right, so I wanted to move here and fork these pieces. But obviously that's a blunder. The rook will just take my queen. So is there a way to make that work? Well, d5. And the point is, if the rook takes, you're just walking into a bishop. I'm going to take, rook for bishop. If the pawn takes, well, guess what? This has now been blocked off. So I can play queen to b5. And this is actually what happened in the game. They took with the pawn. I went check, and I get the fork. And it turns out that black has no way to save the piece. Because if you save the bishop, because it's defended by the rook, the bishop's no longer defending the knight, so you lose the knight. If you play c6 to block, you still lose the bishop. And there's nothing else you can block with one of these pieces, but I'm still going to take the bishop. It's just a free piece. And there's actually not a good way for black to deal with that. There's also, I'm just going to take this. Maybe if I'm going to push here and open everything up. And so they actually did capture, let me get the fork, and then black just resigned here. So all of this happened because of the knight takes f7 move, right? All of it happened because of this moment right here. And so you really have to pay close attention to those weak spots. What black could have done is castle, because now this doesn't make as much sense. I can still do it, and I can get the rook for the, this, but this is not as nearly as good. And Stockfish actually said the best thing here is f5 and just keep attacking this way, which is probably what I was going to do anyway. But yeah, h6 just allowed me to just jump right in. It just didn't really solve the problem. So yeah, off to a good start. We will see. We'll probably get paired up next round against a much stronger opponent. I'm guessing maybe GMIM or something. We'll see. And so, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in round 2.